They think that all they have to do is go to work every day and
Yeah.
do good things for their company, and it'll all work out, and their company's going to make them successful. And somehow or other, that'll turn into a career that's fulfilling and prosperous. And the fact of the matter is, it just doesn't work that way. When people know they have a future, when people feel like they have a say, when they feel like they have choices, they can relax at work and give it their all, be more creative, take some risks, and show up well for their company. And all those relationships they're building to grow their career can often be sources to help their company. So the sooner people can begin doing this in their career, the more their career can grow in ways that really work for them. For the most part, most companies don't have cultures that are really open to their leaders teaching their subordinates to take charge of their career inside and outside the company. It's just not, it won't be well understood and usually well received. The higher people get, the company needs to realize the fewer opportunities are there for those people within the company. And so what's going to happen is, if they're not willing to open it up to help those employees grow forward, even if their next promotion is somewhere else, then what's going to happen is...
Hi there. Welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. In this episode, I had a discussion with Kim Sawyer. Kim is a professional coach with over 20 years of experience with a background in starting and leading businesses. Kim founded theWealthSource to coach executive teams and organizations in creating extraordinary wealth through powerful models and tools. A sought-after speaker, he holds BBA in entrepreneurship from the University of Houston and an MS in organizational development from the University of Texas. Kim has been featured in the Houston Chronicle and on CNN Business Radio. He has coached leaders in a Continental Airlines, JPMorgan Chase, BBC, IBM, Chevron, Spectra Energy, and many high-growth companies. This was very interesting discussion. We talk about various topics around the business leadership and business growth, and especially around C-level executives. What C-level executives should be thinking about their career, how they should manage their career, and what are some of that areas they want to, whether it's professional development or personal development, where they want to focus, and how do they want to align their career with the business objectives. So hope you find a value in this discussion as much I did. If you enjoy this discussion, we got a simple ask. Please share, subscribe, and send us your feedback. Your feedback is very important to us. Allow us to focus on the right discussions to help you grow and scale your business. So until next time, thank you for your time. Please welcome Kim Sawyer. Hi guys, welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. Today our guest is Kim Sawyer. Kim, you've been helping business leaders a lot. You've been working with them, so I'm looking forward to learning from you, looking forward to our discussion. Thank you so much for your time and welcome to the podcast.
Glad to be here, Gurmeet. I appreciate it.
Got it. So, what area, you're working with the business leaders. I know you're helping with the C-suite leaders or presidents, CEOs. So what is the problem they're trying to solve and how do you help them out?
So I've been doing this career, my third career, as an executive coach for about 25 years. And I work with entrepreneurs who are anxious to grow their business to something bigger. And I work with executives, some C-level, but normally around senior vice president, executive vice president. And these are people who are successful in their careers. My job is to help them raise the bar on their performance and make the most of what they can do with their talent, not just for their companies, but also for their own careers lifelong. I meet with them one-on-one in some cases for traditional coaching, but lately I'm launching a program for a cohort, 10 at a time, to go through a process of learning how to manage their career on purpose, deliberately, like it were a business, so they have a say in where they go, when they go, and what direction they go in.
Got it. So what are some of the shortfalls are when they manage their career, Kim? How do you help them out? Like, what are some of the shortfall? What most of business leaders are missing that they need help?
Well, it typically and primarily starts out with, they think that all they have to do is go to work every day and
Yeah.
do good things for their company, and it'll all work out, and their company's going to make them successful. And somehow or other, that'll turn into a career that's fulfilling and prosperous. And the fact of the matter is, it just doesn't work that way. And as a consequence, they stay at the mercy of other people's decisions and circumstances that happen around them to find out what's going to happen in their career.
Got it. Because there's so much focus on a company because these are performance-based jobs, right? They got to perform to a certain level to grow the company or hit those revenue thresholds. So they got to perform there. So they get so deep into that they probably forget about their own career. So how, so what they come, they connect with you. What problem they're trying to solve? They're simply saying that I need to focus more on a career, or what is the problem they're trying to solve when they connect with you?
Well, typically, they're at a place in their career where, one, there's something coming up in the company or in the economy where they're afraid they might lose their job. Merger, acquisition, maybe a new boss has come in that they don't get along with and they feel stuck. Or they may be doing fine in their company, but they're finding themselves not quite fulfilled with their job because they've been getting promoted based on talent where their company wants them, but not necessarily in a way that fulfills them and that they enjoy. And I would say number three is they're also finding their jobs becoming at odds with the rest of their lives, with where they want to be with their family, with their health, with friends. So their life is not as enjoyable anymore because they feel powerless over what they have to commit to their company. Bottom line is they want to have more say about how their work life is. And the only way to do that is take charge of your career.
So should they be waiting for these three items to happen, or should they be managing their career a little bit more proactively so they don't get to these stages that I came? So how do you guide them? What area? Because this is a little bit reactive approach that they already at the place where now they need to fix something. Could they be more proactive in their career?
Yeah. So what typically happens when we first start is they're saying, I think it's a great idea. I want to do all that, but I don't have time. I work so hard for my company that there's never any extra time for me to do things that are more important, to work on my future or myself. So the first thing we have to do is help them learn to take ownership of their time, to be better at doing what's important and not doing what's not important, to be better at delegating, and to be better at having a say with how they spend their time. Because if they can't do that, they can't invest the time, and it is an investment, in working on their career. My job is to get them where they can put 2 hours a week as an appointment with their career, like it were an appointment or a meeting with someone else, and then keep that so that they have the time secured to begin doing the work of managing their career.
Got it. So even though you start from a career standpoint, career point, and what I'm hearing, Kim, is that you end up doing a full business coaching on other side because you have to help them to find the time to work on the items that are important to them, right? Looks like you have to overhaul that, understand that what are they up against and deal with that first before they get to the career side.
Absolutely, because there's two things to that. One is the way I perform, as in managing my time, my energy, my attention, my relationships, and as a leader, that applies to running my career. Outside my company, it's the same kind of process. And inside my company, the second thing is there may be a career path inside my company. So managing my career is about being proactive within my company to move myself in directions that will work for me and my company, but also outside my company as well, because the vast majority of opportunities that would fit for me are not inside one company. They're inside thousands of other companies that are all around that no one pays attention to because they're working so hard.
So, but once they start focus on that, they can probably have a vast variety of opportunities available to them. They can probably tap into other opportunities, just not one opportunity they're working on.
Well, and that's what the Career Mastery Program is about. That phase one is about performance, freeing up time, freeing up focus, learning to master your attention, and be better at building relationships that are collaborative, whether it's in your company or with people outside your company. And then the second phase is about establishing relationships with the right people long term and caring for those relationships so that they're trying to help one another in alliances. So opportunities will continue to come in every time they meet with that person, 6 months or a year, they catch up with each other. There are new possible opportunities that might come their way. So, and then the third part is about getting clear on value proposition. What is it about me that can make a company more successful, can make a difference when I'm with a company? And how can I articulate that so when I am out there talking to people, or being visible speaking at a conference, or being in an organization professionally, that people can understand what I can do and then share that with other people. And then finally, it's about building systems so I can maintain these processes while I'm doing my day job in a way that doesn't detract and it's sustainable, because this has to be a lifelong thing.
Yeah, because he has to run parallel to your career, whatever the job you're working on right now, right? So you got to manage that as a separate business that you can tap into when you need it.
Yes, I have a job serving a customer, and I have a business called my career. And the customer just fits inside the business, and my job is to make that business have a positive impact on the world, make me a lot of money, and go in the direction I want to go that also supports the life I want to live. All of those things, this is what I tell people. This is my job.
So
this is my career, but this is my life. And they all have to fit together that way.
So logically, it sounds so great, makes perfect sense, Kim. So why not a lot of business leaders look at that way? Where do they drop a ball most of the time in looking at this way?
Well, it's all about paradigm. The fact of the matter is, whatever paradigm I'm operating in, meaning how do I look at myself in this situation, that defines what I would think or what I might do or what makes sense to me. So if I'm an employee working for an employer who's giving me a job, then none of that other stuff makes sense. I just want to do a good job for my company, make them successful, they'll make me successful. And that's been the paradigm in our professional world for decades. Now, if I can shift that and say, okay, I am account manager for this customer called my company, my employer, and I'm going to make them happy and serve them. But in the meantime, I'm actually the CEO of a business, and that business has a life expectancy in front of it. And there's many things I need to do in running my business, sales and marketing. I need to have the finances I need to grow my business. I need to be developing my product continually to be more valuable. And I have to have this human capital, the coaches, the allies, the relationships I need, so my business is successful. So once I become a CEO of a career, then everything different makes sense.
Yeah.
So I've got to flip the script.
Yeah, but not only on that level, like him, why can't we bring that to the other lower level, whether it's manager, whether it's director, or any team leads are, because if they start looking the same way, that definitely changed their responsibility and the contribution of the company. They will perform at a much different level than a higher level than they are already performing.
Yes, absolutely. Because when people know they have a future, when people feel like they have a say, when they feel like they have choices, they can relax at work and give it their all, be more creative, take some risks, and show up well for their company. And all those relationships they're building to grow their career can often be sources to help their company. So the sooner people can begin doing this in their career, the more their career can grow in ways that really work for them. So I'm all about it. You start it as soon as you can. I give talks sometimes to grad school students just coming out of MBA programs. And I try to give them this viewpoint before they get caught up in that old paradigm. So they're in charge. The fact is, I can work for many different customers. I'm in charge. I don't have to, if I depend upon one customer, they're in charge.
It's like you are a business within a business, right? So there's a business, but you itself, yourself is also a business inside the business.
Yes. Yes. I'm in a business that happens to be owned and operated by someone else, and I'm helping them make it successful. But I'm also running a business that I own myself and that I want to make successful for the rest of my life.
Yeah, then all you have to do is align that business with the business you're in a bigger level. When you align those two, definitely is better for a company, better for yourself. You're gonna deliver a lot more result that align with the business that way.
Totally correct. If I align my job with my career and my career with my life, then it'll all become the best it can be over time.
So business leaders or C-level people that you work with, Kim, do they take that to the manager level? Do they first learn it and they start using it, and then they try to bring that to the team leads and different levels as well, or it kind of stays with them? What are your findings?
For the most part, most companies don't have cultures that are really open to their leaders teaching their subordinates to take charge of their career inside and outside the company. It's just not, it won't be well understood and usually well received. Now, individual mentoring, a leader with their direct reports, it can often become part of the conversation. I haven't really encouraged that part because there is this conflict of I'm still with a company that has the old paradigm. They think they own me and they're giving me a job, but I'm trying to operate from a new one. So trying to bring that new paradigm into a company like that can often cause a lot of friction.
Understand. So if the business leaders who are listening to us or business owner are listening to us, Kim, if they want to build that kind of culture where they approach the team lead, C-level leadership, CEO or CIO with that same approach, and then they want to trickle it down, what can they do culturally? How can they set this up so there's no friction? They can deal with the friction, and then they can bring the knowledge and information down to the 3-4 levels down.
So the first thing is for the company to understand that people who are free and don't feel imprisoned by their jobs perform much better. People who voluntarily want to help their company, because there's companies also supporting them in long-term career success, they give more to their company. When people feel trapped and at odds, well, I'm going to give the company this because they're giving me that, then they give just the minimum necessary. So it's really about opening up to, I want to help my employees be as high performing and successful as I can, even if it means they go somewhere else. I would rather have them for a while knocking it out of the park than have them for the rest of their career doing just the minimum to keep their job. But that's going to take a serious shift, and C-level executives can begin that by working with their direct reports and encouraging their direct reports who have people to open up that perspective, build coaching relationships one-on-one with the direct reports to find out what that employee wants to achieve in their life and their career, and then helping them do that in a way that also helps the company. So we're trying to align company success with employee success rather than making it a zero-sum game where it's a trade-out. Yes, it's a very powerful paradigm shift for a company.
Yeah, but it makes logical sense to me. You don't want to win, and you don't want to be successful as a business owner or a business leader, but only for yourself. You want everybody around you to be successful. If you can make that happen, that you provide those opportunity for not only for yourself but everybody else working in a company, so they can be successful if they want to. They can work hard and they can align whatever they want to do to. To me, that's a true success. Not everybody's being successful in a company, just not only the top leaders.
Absolutely. And the higher people get, the company needs to realize the fewer opportunities are there for those people within the company. And so what's going to happen is, if they're not willing to open it up to help those employees grow forward, even if their next promotion is somewhere else, then what's
Yep.
going to happen is the employees aren't going to see a future, and they're not going to be motivated to give extra to the company and really be involved. And so that company has to be willing to open their viewpoint more widely and know that if my employee wants to someday be here, but we don't have that in our company, then I'm willing to help that employee get ready to go there. In the meantime, I'm going to have their full engagement and full involvement in helping me back make my operation successful. It's got to be a voluntary, collaborative, win-win effort if you want to create the most value possible.
Yeah, and if you are so afraid as a business owner that you provided opportunity, but next time when your staff needs to opportunity, they're gonna go somewhere else to find opportunity. Then why don't you build a company big enough and create enough opportunity in your own company, so when they look for opportunity, there's a opportunity in your own business instead of they're looking for opportunities outside.
Well, that's certainly true, but there are limitations of market, industry, investors that can contain the size and structure of a company. It's just necessary to
Mhm.
realize that we only have what we have to offer our employees, and there's going to be some employees who have goals to go places that we can't offer them, but that doesn't mean we can't help them work toward a better future for themselves while they help us work for a more successful company.
Yeah, you're not providing just a job; you're providing a career path for these
Yes,
people, whether it's
yes,
with you or with somebody else.
absolutely.
Very interesting. So let's talk about your journey, Kim. How do you get so good at this? How do you get involved into helping business leaders on a career side? If you talk about your journey a little bit.
Well, one of the things I've learned in my journey is careers come in phases, and phases are built around pivotal points where a choice I make changes the game, or something that happens around me outside my control that changes the game. And if I'm willing to embrace that and seek
Mm.
new possibilities when that happens, then I can find myself in a better direction in my career. So, I came out of college an adventurer. I wanted to spend 5 years after all that hard work, and I hitchhiked, traveled, did all kinds of different things that were really personally growing, very exciting, very fun. But I also then realized I had hit a pivot point around my late 20s where, okay, this has been great, but I haven't really built anything. So, how am I going to
Mm.
shift my perspective and begin to take charge of my life? So, what I did was I went the opposite direction and joined the military.
Mm.
So I spent the latter part of my 20s and early 30s in the military in a completely opposite environment, learning to organize, build structure, be part of a team, be part of something larger, have a common vision. And that totally shifted and expanded my personality. When I got out of the military, well, there I was again. Now what? I don't have a
Mm.
necessarily employable skill. So I thought, well, I may not be able to do that, but I can probably start a company with everything that I've learned. The adventurer combined with the military could be a really great opportunity for me to build something. And so I did. I started a business coming out of the military. Turned out to be a great idea for a small business here in Houston, where I'm based. Grew it up over the 90s and sold it, and then tried to start a bigger business. So I'm now in my phase 3 of career entrepreneur. Started a
Mm.
bigger business with other people's money and was about to launch when 9/11 happened, and we lost our next round of funding, and we had to put that business to bed. Now, another pivot point. I couldn't control that, and it seemed like this terrible thing. This business I wanted, it failed. But instead of letting it knock me down, I said, okay, what can I do now that I couldn't have done if it succeeded? And I began to move in a larger direction. I began to follow my interest in personal growth, bringing in business. I got a master's in organizational development. I discovered coaching, which was just starting in the early 2000s. And I found myself in this phase of my career, which has been the most fulfilling of any of them. Before my business failed, I never would have imagined myself as a coach. Matter of fact, it didn't really exist then. But because my business failed and that terrible thing happened, I found my way to the thing I'm really meant to do. So that taught me a big lesson about when things happen that I think are bad because they don't feel good or they don't go the way I picture, I can either get mad about it and fight reality, or I can say, well, what are some things I can do that I couldn't have done before if that didn't happen, and seek new opportunities. Every time I do that, I have found, along with my clients, because I coach my clients around this, I end up someplace far better than I would have been if that failure hadn't happened. And so now what's the next phase of my career? Well, I'm beginning to become an idea leader, bringing concepts and content and program to the marketplace. And that's an exciting new thing. And I've done that because the coaching industry is maturing and coaching is becoming a commodity, and selling hours of coaching is no longer a successful, prosperous thing to do for me. So I'm taking that disadvantage and shifting it to turn myself into a new direction. I think it'll be more fulfilling and prosperous than what I've been doing.
Wow.
That's my
Thank you for
journey.
sharing that. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. So many things to unpack. But yeah, I think you're so right about that. When you are just dealing with a struggle in a bit, or you have a, uh, event in a life when you failed on something, you can't see the opportunity, the next opportunity coming your way. You can only see that when you find a way how to deal with it, and that's when you see the opportunity other side, right? I think that, to your point, in the
Yeah,
moment you don't see any of that opportunity, right?
absolutely. Well, I think about the pandemic because as long as I'm operating in the way I've decided and everything's built around me, I can't see
Mm.
outside of it. I've got everything figured out. But as something happens that knocks that down and doesn't make it possible, all of a sudden it's like the doors and windows open up. And I see this bigger reality and I begin to notice possibilities I couldn't have seen inside that situation that I liked, but I can like it to the point where it's no longer fitting for me. And if I don't have a chance to see something bigger, so I end up grateful for those things that happen that sort of put a crack in my world, because through that crack, new possibilities happen.
Great, great stuff. So, how did you get interested in helping leaders with the career side?
Well, I found out over 25 years that the executives I worked with, especially as I advanced in more senior levels, um, they all struggled with that. They were all encountering problems with dissatisfaction in their job, losing power over their time, burnout, difficulties in life, problems with bosses, getting laid off. Things were beginning to happen to them, and all that were really problematic. They affected their performance in their job and also their life. All of those things can be resolved, I realized, if they actually looked at their career and took charge of running it and having choice and say in where it went. And so over the years, I realized, this is the big missing piece for successful people. They're already successful. I can help an executive be more successful, get promoted, or get ready for a new responsibility. But what really makes a difference is if I can help them enlarge their lives and careers. And so I began to focus on that specifically.
Oh, I think we're back. Looks like it was a hesitation. Okay. Does that, how much of that's, how do they handle the same challenge in Kim in a military from your background? This career approach. Was there some lessons learned with your time in the military, or do they approach the same way, or how do they handle the same problem?
So, in terms of career management, the military is not the ideal environment to learn that because it's a huge structure and they want you to advance within it. And
Mm.
they want to have a say in where you go because they have certain needs that are very important. The leadership structure is very different as well. That doesn't allow a lot of discretion. However, there are some powerful approaches to leadership in the military, powerful tools that have been developed that I have found that I've been able to bring with me into the private sector to help executives be more powerful leaders and also help companies leverage the talent of their people better. So it's not an exact overlay, but I learned a lot that's helped me help leaders in their jobs inside their companies.
Yeah, but they provide enough opportunities for you to find opportunities within a military. You don't have to go out, right? So the opportunities are a lot there. You don't. There's no shortage of opportunities inside the military. So whatever branch you want to go to, compared to business may not have all the opportunities in one company.
It's true. But the other part of it is I don't get to decide in the military where I go next. They decide for me where they need me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, I've got a career worth of advancement possible if I perform well in the military. However, it isn't necessarily going to go in the direction that's best for me. And so that's the reason a lot of people, they retire early in the military and then they go out and really start their careers in the world.
Got it. Well, great point. So let's talk about business leader you work with, Kim. So, what do you look for when you're looking for, working with a C-suite, leader? We all have those gut instincts. And when we meet with somebody, by working with this person, that this is going to be a successful partnership when I work with them, or there's going to be some challenges that I have to get over in order to help this person. What are some of the, attributes that they look for that this person needs help and I'm going to be able to help them? So is that a mindset? What are you looking for from business leaders to bring up to the table?
So I'm looking for two things. I'm looking for a level of current success, meaning they have a job, they're good at it, they're not going to lose it, they're not in a hurry to go somewhere, and they're more or less financially stable. So they have the time, patience, and confidence to be able to move forward. But then I'm looking for coachability. And coachability consists of two things. One is what I call humility, meaning, am I willing to realize my strengths and my weaknesses calmly and be willing to work on myself to grow and improve? Because without that, coaching can't go anywhere. But the other part of it is where the energy source is aspiration. Do I have a passion for becoming better or becoming something more or achieving something greater? So having a level of success as a platform to launch from, having the aspiration to launch up somewhere high and exciting, and the willingness to realize that I'm going to have to continually grow and change in order to get there. Those are the three things I look for in a prospective client.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's not a coachable. I heard from the podcast we did a couple of days ago that not everybody's coachable. Some people just not looking for that advice, or they're just not ambitious to achieve that. So, what are some of the red flags? If you can talk about that, what do you see as working with somebody here? Listen, there's some red flags that we may not be able successful just by looking at a couple of things.
So, I look at people who are struggling with things in their life outside their work. That's a problem. I look at people who are complaining a lot about their job. Their boss is bad and doesn't give them a break. Their company doesn't give them a break. It's a toxic culture, one thing or another, which tells me that they have a victim mentality and they're not currently satisfied in their job. And if that's the case, they're going to have a hard time showing up calmly and confidently outside their company, looking attractive to future opportunities, having an open mind to walk into an interview and say no because there's something better that might be out there for them. So those are some key factors right away. Now, the other part is they think they know it all. Now, that's a harsh thing to say, but people who are successful, even if those other things aren't true, they think they got it. They got it going on. I know how to do this. Look where it got me. I'm doing great. And so that's true. But one of the phrases we use in coaching a lot is what got you here won't get you there.
I get you.
So it's the very habits I've gotten into and the skills I've built and the reputation and the self-image that have got me successful now. Many of those are going to block me from being successful at what the next thing is I might want to do. So when people feel like they've got it going on, I just as soon not work with them.
Yeah, because and they know nobody knows better than the C-level, executives that the business has a flexion point. What problem you solve at a 5 million, 10 million, it may not be the same problem at 20 million, 25 million. So they have to read, they have to sharpen your skill set or learn a different skill set to get over those flexion points. So they're so used to that. But for them to come to a career coach and not listen, not be open to perspective. I find that's a little bit challenging.
Well, and you're right. And I find that the lesson is most important. I do work with entrepreneurs of early growth stage companies, getting financing, growing really fast. And they find that they have to move so quickly from being the creator of the product and the company as an individual with a couple of other partners to becoming a manager of a team. Well, that's an entire shift. And so they've got to stop thinking the way they were thinking and start thinking here and learning new skills. And then they become a manager of managers of teams. And that's an entirely different paradigm. And again, they have to stop doing what worked as a supervisor, and they have to elevate their thinking and their skill set to learn to lead leaders. And then when they start having to work with investors and boards of directors, it's a whole nother game at the C-level. So because the change happens quickly, it's easy for them to see where they're not having what it takes. My job is to help them stay ahead of by getting ready for that next thing before it happens. Now, helping successful executives in large companies learn that's a little more difficult because things move more slowly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you work on a very low level, that you're probably working with the product and services, but at the moment you go to manager level, all those roles after that, these are people skills level roles, right? You're dealing with a lot of people, and whether you're managing people, managing expectation, or whatever you do, now you involve a lot more people skills. So that's a totally different skill set than trying to manage product and services issues.
Yes, and an entrepreneur of a high growth venture is going to have to go through those changes really fast.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes there's no time to learn. That's why we need there's so many blind spots. That's why we need people like you, the coaches, to highlight those blind spots and help you learn much faster so we can get over those challenges.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, very interesting. So where can people find you? How can they connect with you before we get to the last part of it? So how do you connect with people?
So first of all, I want to thank you for having me as a guest and thank the audience for listening in. So in appreciation for inviting me, I'd like to make an offer in appreciation for the people listening. To any successful executive out there who may feel stuck in their current role or not fulfilled the way they'd like to be and not quite sure what to do about it, I'm offering my career mastery session. We'll discuss your career history, where you are now, what's really possible for you, and you'll walk away with a couple of clear action steps to launch you forward. Normally, it's a $300 session, but if you mention this podcast, it'll be free to you. So spots are limited.
That's a great offer, yeah.
Simon will have all the information in the podcast notes where you can schedule your session.
Yeah, I'm going to get a link from you. I usually include a link to your website or LinkedIn below this video. So I'll get a link from you as well for this offer, and I'll include that below the video. People can click a button. They can just reach out to you and connect with you.
Well, and there'll be a link to my calendar, so they can just click my calendar and schedule a career mastery session.
Yeah, no, great. Yeah, as business leaders, we have so much going on, whether you're trying to grow a company, whether you're trying to, manage your career. There's so many moving parts. And I think this is where we need people like you to, because there's so many blind spots. We miss so many areas. That's where we need people like you to, first of all, highlight those blind spots, help us to deal with some of those challenges and get there much faster instead of making own mistakes and trying to learn from own mistakes. That's where we need help people like you at the coaching level that, avoid all the mistakes and get there much faster and speed up your career.
Well, and I'll close with this. I have always had a coach, even as a coach,
Yeah.
because I want to grow and aspire for the rest of my career. And so I realize that on my own, I'm going to stay within this way of thinking. But if I can have somebody else at my side challenging me to think outside the box, then I can keep growing.
Yeah. And one thing changed with the coaches, coaching side of work is that before used to be one-on-one. We sit down with somebody in the same room. These days, it all could be done remotely. You can be any part of the world, any part of the country, and you can still get that access to the coaching services, the coaching help, no matter where you are in a country.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the pandemic was a huge gift to me when I realized it, because within 6 months, my clients were all over the world instead of just in Houston, Texas. And I was able to see people and coach people without driving, and my market expanded. So today, I meet with people like you all the time from many, many different parts of the world.
Yeah, well, it's that connected world, what we call it, right? We all connected, somehow with the technology. So before we go, I want to thank you for your time. Great discussion. Executives, C-level people or business owners, even they haven't thought about their career, what they want to do. Where can they start from? Any message you want to leave for them who's thinking about it? They haven't managed their career the way they should have been managing. Any message you want to leave for them for what could be the next step for them?
Start today and do two things. One, make a 1 hour appointment in your calendar that you will not reschedule with your career. And during that hour, look over your contacts and pick somebody that you believe is willing to help you, able to help you, and is able to be helped by you. And then call that person and offer to invite them into an alliance, career long, to try to help each other, and set up a meeting to explore it with that person. Those relationships like that will be the lifeline for you and the opportunity line for you for the rest of your career.
And it can work both ways. Maybe the other person needs some help, and you could help them out, right? Those relationships could work either way.
And it's a long-term relationship. There may not be anything we can do for each other right now, but because of where we are and who we are, a year or 5 years from now, if we keep touching base and catching up with one another, all sorts of opportunities that we can't even foresee may come our way.
Yeah. Yeah. It all comes down to intentionally managing your career instead of letting just letting just run in a wall by itself.
Well, anything running wild by itself can end up anything, whether I like it or not. But if I want to have a say, I have to be an active participant.
Yeah, got it. Good stuff. Great discussion, Kim. I enjoyed our discussion. Thank you so much for time. We'll talk soon in the future.
Beautiful. Thank you again for having me, Gurmeet.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this discussion, I recommend to check one of this discussion on the top. Also, don't forget to go back to that channel homepage. There's a playlist created just for you, whether you're looking for business discussion, technology discussion, or process discussion for business growth. All those categories are there, and I'm sure you will find something that you enjoy from those categories as well. So don't forget to send us your feedback. Subscribe to this channel for any upcoming videos. Your feedback is very important to us. Allow us to focus on the right discussion to deliver value for you on a weekly basis. So enjoy. Until next time, thank you for your time.